Hey everyone, Dr. Zio here with another episode review of Power Rangers Beast Morphers. Today we're reviewing Power Rangers Beast Morphers Episode 2, Evox's Revenge. This episode was pretty good. I'm surprised it didn't hit the sophomore slump where the premiere is great, the second episode is just kind of and then starts to fall off from there. But so far, everything's looking good for Beast Morphers. In this episode, we were introduced to a little bit more elements of Power Rangers Beast Morphers while they're just trying to get everything settled before I guess they get into the real meaty bits of the story. So in this episode, it focused on Ravi and Zoe primarily, going up against each other for the position of leadership of the new Beast Morphers team. Ultimately, if you've already seen the episode, we know that at the end, it's Devin who gets the leadership. And honestly, this guy did show very good leadership qualities. That said, I honestly don't like the fact that Devin got the leadership position. In show, I understand. In show, I agree with Commander Shaw's choice. I agree with Ravi's choice and Zoe's choice because they both stepped up and said, "Hey, wait, Commander Shaw, we don't want to be leader. Devin's the one who exercised the most leadership traits in this episode," and I agree. Devin's the one who was able to stop Ravi when he was overheating. Even he stopped Ravi from shooting Zoe when he was overheating. He's the one who elected to go back to the fighting site, and he's the one who wanted to actually do some recon, which I really, really, really liked about that. The fact that he was proactive about figuring out, okay, I want to know why I froze up during the fight. I know what happened there so it doesn't happen again in the future. Meanwhile, Nate's kind of doing the same thing for Zoe and Ravi. I like that. Devin shows really good leadership qualities, and the fact that he also went into the Zord battle by himself with just Cruz and his own Cheetah Zord, that was good. Devin does have leadership qualities. That said, as a Ranger fan, I'm honestly kind of tired of the Red Ranger being the leader there. I like Time Force. I like the fact that Jen was a leader in that series. I like that Wes is kind of the co-leader there. So I was kind of hoping that in this series, with Ravi being the guy who has the most experience between the three, and even Zoe, like they said, Zoe trained to be a cadet. I was hoping that at least one of those two would be the leader, and maybe they'll pass the mantle on to Devin later on in the series for whatever reason. But I mean, that's not what happened. I understand why they chose Devin as a leader, given Power Rangers history. So it is what it is. But overall, it was a very, very good episode. It started off with us being reintroduced to what happened in the previous episode with a previously on Beast Morphers segment, which I loved. I used to love the previously on Power Rangers segments and the next time on Power Rangers segments, which I do hope they bring those back. The fact that it said previously on Beast Morphers, I know this is being a little bit nitpicky, but I would have liked if they said previously on Power Rangers Beast Morphers rather than just Beast Morphers, but I don't know, it is what it is. But yeah, the episode's pretty good. It starts off with us with the previously on segment, and then immediately jumps over to Roxy and Blaze being teleported into the cyber dimension, where we're introduced to our one of our henchmen one of the other henchmen of the season. His name is Scrozzle. I like Scrozzle. I like him a lot. I like the fact that this is the guy who's going to be the kind of techie to Evox. I like that he is the finster to the Rangers, Billy and Nate. I like the fact that they have their own guy who's creating their own technology. And I want to see how Scrozzle progresses in the future. It was interesting that Scrozzle didn't want Roxy and Blaze on their team at first, and he's like, once Evox jumped in, he started zapping them. He's like, "Have mercy," and he pledged allegiance to Evox. And oh my gosh, not only does that kind of solidify Evox as an imposing threat, but it kind of makes you wonder, okay, so Scrozzle has his own, I guess, his weaknesses, right? I wonder, and later on in the episode, basically what I'm getting at is that later on in the episode, Scrozzle says that he was running from a guy named Vargoyle. This makes you wonder, eventually whenever Vargoyle appears, will there be a fight between Vargoyle and Evox for that leadership role? Are we going to see an in-faction fight like we did in so many seasons in the past? And if so, I would like that. On that note, I do want to see, I want to know who Vargo is and why Scrozzle was running from him. The fact that Scrozzle made his own villains or army of minions to protect himself against Vargol makes it seem like Vargol is some sort of imposing threat, right? But that aside, there are a lot of elements in that scene that I really, really enjoyed. The fact that Scrozzle reverse engineered the materials that was transported over from the previous episode into their own evil Morph X keys, and they're going to be using that throughout the season to create their own robots and to create their own, and to teleport the enemy Zords and the enemies in general. That's interesting. Like, I hadn't, going back to that first episode, you notice that when Nate and them, when they teleport Roxy and Blaze out of the command center, you notice that there's a crater there. I hadn't even thought about what all was in that crater besides Roxy and Blaze. It's like, it makes sense. It honestly makes sense. The fact that Nate and the Rangers were doing this in a hurry and couldn't be were too pressed for time to actually move things out of the way. The fact that they were transporting some sensitive material there too is understandable, and it's a great little detail, and I love it. I love it, I love it, I love it. Also, side note, Roxy's acting in this episode was a lot better than it was in the previous episode, so that just makes me more excited to see more from her. So once Roxy and Blaze become acquainted with Scrozzle's little doohickeys, Scrozzle tells him that yes, he can use the Morph X keys, or the evil Morph X keys, or whatever you want to call them, to teleport things. He can't necessarily teleport Evox out of the cyber dimension without a whole bunch of Morph X, which leads us to Blaze and Scrozzle going back into the city and gathering up some Morph X to do said task. Of course, they weren't able to get enough Morph X because there was a fight between them and the Rangers, which was a really, really good fight. The Unmorphed fights, while not as good as the Disney seasons, in this season, they're definitely better than the Neo Saban seasons. I'm very, very, very happy about that so far. We even got like a little bit of banter between Blaze and Devin. Like when they were about to fight, Blaze threw aside his sword. He's like, "All right, how about we continue our karate lesson?" And then Devin's like, "Yeah, I'll be able to teach you a few things." And I'm like, "Oh my gosh!" Number one, continuing that element from the first episode was really, really good, especially since it was just a good thing about the first episode, seeing that rivalry between Blaze and Devin. Number two, this has a lot of implications. When Roxy and Blaze got turned into their evil avatar, got separated into their evil avatars, I didn't really think too much about their evil avatars having their individual personalities, just because we didn't really have time for that kind of dialogue in that episode. So now that they're expanding on that in episode 2, that makes me think, okay, so we know that evil Blaze certainly has some elements of regular Blaze inside of him. What does that mean for Roxy? Because if evil Roxy has elements of good Roxy inside of her, that's going to lead to some interesting interactions between her and Ravi in the future. Given that Roxy and Ravi were in a relationship before they became Rangers, and the fact that Ravi certainly feels some guilt in the fact that he had to break them up, as we saw it in the end of the previous episode. And so I'm just thinking, ooh, that is going to be interesting, because I could totally see Roxy messing with Ravi throughout their battles, and I want to see that. I really want to see her push his buttons, and that can eventually lead to him overheating throughout the course of the season, which, bringing up the overheating aspect, I guess I'm okay with them taking the weakness points from Go Busters and bringing them into Beast Morphers. Devin being afraid of dogs, and that being tied to his cheetah DNA, which kind of has the feline bloodline in that, it's a bit of a stretch, but I mean, I guess it makes sense. I don't necessarily like that. I didn't like when Hiromu and Go Busters had that kind of thing going on. I thought it was cheesy and corny, but whatever. Ravi overheating is going to be interesting with his interactions with Roxy and how that could lead into his overheating moments. I want to see more of that. And I want to know exactly how they're going to be able to stop him from overheating and how they're going to be able to cool him down. Interesting note, there was a tweet from Jazz Badawalia, I think is his name, Ravi's actor in Beast Morphers, that said that Ravi has a difficult time expressing or showing emotions. And that makes me think back to episode 1 and even this episode when it really seemed like he wasn't really emoting that much, and it seemed like everything was very stilted with Ravi's dialogue and with Ravi's interactions with other people in these 2 episodes. So that made me think, okay, so if that's a character trait of Ravi's, does that tie into his overheating? Is that a situation where he has such a difficult time expressing emotions that when he finally has to do it, it results in him overheating? And over the course of the series, will he learn how to better express his emotions, which will lead him to overheating less often? If that's how that plays into that little scenario, I'm gonna love it. That's a brilliant piece of character development. I do want to see more of that. I want to see how it factors into the season. Aside from that, Zoe doesn't overheat. I guess she overexerts herself, and she gets really, really weak. It honestly wasn't too clear on that. I think she gets really weak when she uses her powers too much, because not only was she jumping and hopping when they were fighting the Tronics in their morph form, but she was also jumping to avoid Ravi's Morph X blaster blasts. So I'm thinking, okay, so if she's overexerting herself, she gets a little bit too tired, and then she has to eat carrots to kind of replenish her energy. Her eating carrots was a nice little touch, if not a little bit corny, since she is a jackrabbit, but I don't know. It got a little bit of a laugh from me. Speaking of laughs, Commander Shaw going in on Ravi was absolutely amazing. I can tell that right now Commander Shaw is definitely going to be my favorite character of the season if she has more of these roasting Ravi or roasting the Rangers in general moments. The fact that she was like, Ravi, how would you know if you've never done a single load of laundry in your life? And Nate's face, oh my god. The way this boy just kind of looked down like, oh my god, I feel that secondhand embarrassment for Ravi. And that shut that boy up so fast. And the fact that Zoe was kind of stifling back a laughter there, like, that was amazing. Like, I want to see more moments like that from Commander Shaw, because honestly, she's the funniest person in the whole show at this point. But yeah, I know I'm kind of hopping around the episode, but that's okay. The morph sequence between the Rangers, that was nice too. On the subject of the morph sequence, they do bring back It's Morphin' Time, as I guess it's a layover from the Neo Saban seasons, and I guess at this point it is kind of in that DNA of Power Rangers, which I guess I don't really mind. It could be a lot worse. I do miss the whole ready thing that they used to do back in the old seasons, but whatever. You move on from that, I guess. When they were about to morph, though, it was nice to see that Ravi and Zoe kind of stepped up first, and they were like, it's morphin' time. They're kind of like competing there, I guess, for a leader role of being the one who says it's morphin' time. And their interactions in this episode and their bickering kind of makes you wonder, are we going to see a little bit of chemistry between Zoe and Ravi? Like, are we really going to do this whole Roxy being in a coma, so Zoe and Ravi start developing a thing which might have Ravi feeling some type of way later on the season as he's conflicted about what's going to happen when I bring back Roxy? Like, I feel like that's a little bit CW-ish for this kind of a TV show, but if they want to do it and they think they can pull it off and they execute it well, I'm willing to see it. I am willing to see it. The more Ranger conflicts, the better. I'm cool with that. I am cool with that. As long as it doesn't get over dramatic. Aside from that, we did have our introduction to the Beast Bots. We have Devin's Beast Bot Cruz, which is a nice little robotic cheetah, which has a memory problem. I guess he's forgetful. Like, Nate said that so nonchalantly. I'm thinking, but why is he forgetful? If you made him, why not just program that out? Like, I would have really appreciated it if Nate was like, yeah, he's forgetful. I can't figure out where that bug came from. I'm still kind of ironing out that little detail. That would have been nice, but for him to be so dismissive about him being forgetful, it makes you think that's a blemish in a piece of technology that you don't want to have that kind of a blemish in. Like, as we noticed, the Beast Bots are also kind of the controls of the Zords. I'm like, why would you want that vital piece of equipment in your Zord to be forgetful? Now, on top of that, it looks like the Beast Bots are actually going to have like a helping role in the series, aside from being pieces of the Zord. So why would you want somebody who's going to be helping you out in battle or helping you out when you need it be forgetful? Like, I feel like that's a huge oversight on Nate's part. And Nate seems like a character who wouldn't really have that kind of an oversight. So yeah, I want just a little bit of more explanation there, which I don't think we'll get necessarily, but I would appreciate it if we had that kind of an explanation. Um, Back onto the Beast Bots though, we have Cruz, and then we have Smash the Gorilla for Nate, and going back to, or not for Nate, but for Ravi, and going back to Ravi having trouble expressing emotions. The first thing Smash wanted to do when he was introduced to Ravi is he wanted to hug him, and Ravi's like, "Whoa, sorry, dude, I don't do hugs," and he had like this kind of like awkward expression on his face, and so seeing Jazz's tweet made me actually go back to the first episode and think, okay, did he hug Roxy at any point during that episode? Which, nope, this boy did not hug Roxy either. And when they were suiting up to go into the morpher tubes or whatever they're called, and he also didn't hug her when they were having their flashback on the pier or whatever. So I'm thinking, has he never hugged Roxy? Like, does he really have that big of a problem with hugging people? Like, this boy's problems expressing emotions, I think that's going to be probably my favorite element of the series, character development-wise, especially if they really dive deep into it, because there are just so many implications there, and I want to know more about Ravi and why he's like that. And then finally, we have my personal favorite Beast Bot, which is ironic because he wasn't my favorite quote-unquote Beast Bot in Go Busters, but we have Jax, the Jackrabbit, for Zoe. And their initial interaction was hilarious. Zoe bends over as Jax is introducing himself to her, and she's like, "Oh, and you're cute too." He's like, "Hey, I don't like being called cute." And she kind of backs up like, "Whoa, I'm sorry." And I'm like, it was hilarious. It was absolutely hilarious. And Jax is kind of like, he reminds me of like a mobster, honestly. The voice that they have him going for, he reminds me of a mobster from like one of those early 20s movies. And I love it. I absolutely love it. I want to see more of Jax. I want to hear more of Jax, that is. I want to see more of the Beast Bots in general. I guess except Cruz. No, nothing against Kelson Henderson. I love Kelson Henderson in pretty much all of his roles here in Power Rangers. Like, he's been with the franchise since, I want to say, since as far back as 2005 with SPD. But I honestly don't feel like he fits Cruz's voice very well. Like, I didn't really see Kelson Henderson. I don't see Cruz having Kelson Henderson's voice like I do Jackson and Smash having their respective voice actors' voices. But I don't know, maybe my opinion will change as the series goes on. Like, going on to the funny elements, well, first off, let's go over to this whole Zord battle. Basically, there's a short little Zord battle with the individual Zords. We haven't seen the Beast X and Megazord yet, so it was one of those, first time we took the Zords out, let's go ahead and use them individually, and it was nice. I honestly do want to see more of that in the season. I don't think it could be a bad thing, especially since the Zords this season aren't that bad. Like, it seems like the Zords this season were really built for taking on enemies individually, in addition to combining together and forming a Megazord and really taking things up a notch when necessary. So I like to see them play into that, in that we get to see each of the Rangers' individual Zords doing their own thing until, okay, it's finally time to go ahead and form the Megazord. Of course, you also run the risk there of that being monotonous and then just having to form the Megazord quickly. But we'll see how that turns out. But yeah, going back to comedic elements, we had some more scenes from Ben and Betty, our two comedic duo of the season, and I still don't necessarily like them, but they're honestly not that bad. Again, they're better than any of the comedic duos we saw in the Neo Saban seasons. Basically, in this episode, they developed like a little souped-up taser device, and whenever they used it, it would shock the enemy and also shock themselves as well, which resulted in wacky hijinks with their hair kind of going like all big and afro-ish, which it wasn't that bad. It was nice though that they got to participate in the actual battle. When Devin froze up, Betty distracted the Tronic while Ben shocked it with the taser, of course, shocking himself as well. And that little element was really, really nice. I like the fact that they participated and they had an actual plot reason to be there. They wanted to help out. And so that was cool. And I like the fact that Devin, the first thing he did as leader was not only give everyone a group hug, but also thank Ben and Betty for helping out in battle. Like, that's a nice element. It really does hammer the point that, okay, Devin was the right person to be the leader of this team. He's the most not necessarily down-to-earth person of the team, but he was the most suited in this situation. And now onto our question of the day. Essentially the only question I have for this episode is I want to know, who is Vargol and why is Scrozzle so afraid of him? From what we saw in the episode, it really does seem like Scrozzle is really afraid of Vargol. Going so far as to build his own little army of robots and even Megazord type items to go up against Vargol should that day come. Like, I want to see more of that. I want to know more about Scrozzle's backstory and exactly what happened between Scrozzle and Vargol to kind of have that little, I want to see why exactly he's after Scrozzle. But that's all we have for today for our episode of Power Rangers Beast Morphers, Episode 2, Evox's Revenge. As always, thank you guys for watching my video, and leave a comment in the comment section about what you liked about the episode, or really anything you want to say about Power Rangers Beast Morphers. I want to know what you guys think about the series so far. Until next time, I'm Dr. Zio, and I'll see you guys later.